sigh of a broken wife.
Morning has broken like the first. I won't sing that, it'd be very annoying.
That's the sound of a broken voice.
How are you all? Good morning, good morning, good morning.
Hello, everyone.
Staycationing is quite hard when it's grey and rainy all the time.
But you're very, very lucky to be staycationing.
Oh no, I know that. But wouldn't we all love a bit of sun?
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think let's go cup half full,
Oh, no,
which is where you
a
normally
cup.
are.
That's not fair. I'm always a cup half full.
Yeah.
I'm always cup half full. But wouldn't we all just love a bit of sun?
It would have been nice. It would have been
so
nice.
great.
We
Is
went
it
to a
lovely?
lovely place yesterday.
Hi, Charlie
We went to a
Dunn.
lovely place yesterday, and the woman who
And
was the
Caitlin
ticket
Taylor.
tearing our ticket when we went in said, "No, it wasn't her. It was the
was
guy." He
raining
said,
all day.
"It's a great advert for staycationing, isn't it?"
Hi, Kareem Little.
Yeah. Where are they? Asks Teresa Clark. Who's they?
Us?
Who's they? The cat's mother.
We're in Norfolk, and my nephew is staying in our house with his band.
Yeah, so cool.
And we love it because they are literally
Jamming.
creating a new album
They're
while
recording
we're
an album.
here.
So when they go large, like the Arctic Monkeys, and they
They
have
are
their
really
demo
cool.
photos, you know those great black and white demo
Yeah,
photos.
it's gonna be in
They're
a-
going to be in the doghouse. It's so cool.
What are they called again? Public convenience.
Public
Follow
convenience.
them on Instagram.
Public convenience, what, as in a toilet?
That's what they're called, yeah.
There were bad manners in a sense of buildings manners,
Oh.
manor house, which I thought was quite funny. Can I just say, Ashley, thank you very much for mentioning this. It's with great sadness to say that it's Xander's funeral tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I know that Ashley, for family guests and members and people who are friends and knew Xander, has a link to be able to attend, because obviously it's a funeral within COVID restrictions, limitations and what have you. So that's happening tomorrow. I think the details you can find from Ashley, and anyone who knows Ashley, you can get them there.
If you're new to our channel, Ashley
yeah.
was one of our subscribers to this channel.
Xander was.
Sorry, Xander was. And Ashley's a regular subscriber and has been helping all the arrangements.
Orchestrating it. Now, we're doing a members live, this is just some housekeeping. We're doing a members live today at 5. That's the missing one from last week. But then tomorrow, as we're moving about and doing things, you're going to get another members live. And whilst we're there, we're going to have some little remembrances, I thought, of Xander, because obviously it'll be the day of his funeral. Obviously it won't be at the same time as his funeral. So, yeah, it's with great sadness that's happening tomorrow. And what I love about it, and I just want to make this point, Xander was known for many different identities. He was a performer in his soul, and he occupied many different personas, essentially. And I know his name was different, and I know certain people have wanted to draw attention to this, and I think we want to cherish him in all the multiplicity of his different, crazy and extreme and often infuriating personalities.
I think that's one of the lovely things about social media,
Yes.
isn't it? I mean, he made friends here, and I think, social media, well, like when you start a new school.
Precisely, like
You
when you go
could
to
have-
college, you
you
think, I'm
could
going
have
to be
a
different here.
Yeah, I'm going to be different, and it's a way, so.
Some people want to see that as deceit, but I think that says far more about the person suggesting deceit than actually the person themselves. So
Amanda
there you go.
Roach, you can. I'll write that down. You've got a piece of paper there, babe.
I have.
Amanda Roach and Della. It's Della's birthday tomorrow, but she's out all day.
Oh.
So she was worried she might miss her birthday.
Amanda Roach, and so whose birthday is it? Amanda's or Della's?
Amanda and Della, both separate.
Oh,
Both
your birthdays on the same day. Oh, they're
No,
separate people.
Amanda's today and Della's tomorrow.
Oh, right.
Can we sing Della's for today?
Okay.
So,
A new member just landed there as well. Do you wanna
morning,
go- do you wanna grab
Claire
your coffee?
McNabb. We shall be singing you a welcome song at the end, so stay to the end if you
Yeah.
can. If not, it will be uploaded and you can check it out afterwards. So, welcome to everybody that's come over from Instagram. I know there's some new people come over to join our merry little band here. Welcome. Hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, and then you will know. Hi, Pauline, new over today. And then YouTube can always tell you when we're going live or when we're uploading a new film.
Have you noticed
Morning, so
anything
sexy
different?
and-
Have you noticed anything different about what I'm doing here?
There is something a bit weird, and I can't work out what it is.
I'm struggling to do this without my glasses.
Oh, that's what it
I'm
is. You haven't got your
forcing myself
glasses
to
on.
do it without my
I keep
glasses.
thinking there's something a bit weird.
Because-
Good, because you've got too reliant
Well,
on it.
because I had a moment yesterday. We went to a beautiful gardens and we were looking at some things. And I thought, I've got to keep testing the horizon. So I keep looking over there, and then I look over there. Morning, Emma Carter. Devon B, hi guys, I've missed you. We've missed you too, but it's my birthday today. Can I have a shout out.
Yes, you can.
Devon
and you can
B.
have a birthday song. Devon B, happy birthday, and we'll sing you happy birthday at the end.
Yeah.
Good morning, Susception is very happy that she's got alive.
Superction.
I can never say it.
No,
Sorry.
Superction, it's lovely that you're back.
Morning,
Yes.
Margaret O'Brien. How are you?
Claire Ross Reed, haven't seen your name in ages. You haven't got your glasses on. No, you're absolutely right, yeah. And I can't see
Thank
a thing.
you,
Where's the
Nadia.
camera? So, do you want to grab your coffee before we... Were you going to grab your coffee?
No, it's all right. I'm
You're
having
right.
a tea at the
You don't
minute.
need your coffee.
Yeah.
So,
I want to talk about Britney.
well, the big story this morning is Britney. There's two elements to this story, actually. Britney's conservatorship request has been denied.
So conservatorship, just in case you haven't heard about it, it's kind of like power. Well, it's like power of attorney, but it's much more extreme, and it's usually only given to people who've had some sort of brain damage or have Alzheimer's or have it's a very extreme thing. And Britney's had this conservatorship since she was in 2008 when she had a breakdown, and basically all her finances and everything that she does has been handed over to her father and a group of lawyers. And last week she made a brilliant plea, didn't she, in the court to put an end to this.
A judge has denied Britney Spears' request to remove her father from his role of overseeing her conservatorship, a court filing reveals. The singer's lawyer, Samuel Ingham, asked a court in Los Angeles to oust Jamie Spears from his position. When calling for Mr. Spears to be removed, Mr. Ingham said Mr. Spears was scared. Miss Spears was scared of her father and wanted him gone from the conservatorship that's controlled her life since 2008.
Now, in court, when she was putting forward her case, she likened what was happening to her to that of a sex slave. That's what she said, wasn't she?
Yeah.
She said she's frightened. She said things like incredible things like she has an IUD that she wants to have removed because she wants to have a baby. She's not allowed to marry her boyfriend. Even when she sees her therapists, her father and the lawyers decide where it is and where she has to go. Then she's caught by PAPS. She said she's not allowed to spend any money without permission. She even said she can't stain her kitchen cupboards without permission, and feels utterly controlled and lives in a terrified state, and is also forced to take lithium. Now, obviously, we don't know what's gone on behind the scenes, but
I was going to say, could I ask a question though? I mean, I was so shocked and surprised that she failed, given the sort of imploring element to her appeal and the amount of press it sort of got.
it wasn't directly off the back of that, because they're saying that the actual official appeal for the end of the conservatorship hasn't actually happened yet.
Right.
This was something previous to her plea in court.
So this isn't a direct consequence of that?
No, but they said it is relevant that it has come after that plea and they're denying it.
That's what I mean.
So there seems to be, but there's another stage you can go to officially
So
ask
what we've got
the
here is a time lag on sort of various elements of it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very much being reported as a failed to remove a conservatorship. I mean, the long and the short of it is, do you think that behind the scenes, yes, I'm not suggesting for a minute that the conservatorship should be there for Britney fans, but do you think she's potentially more vulnerable than any of us know?
Well, this is the thing, we cannot know, can we? Because we don't hear any of the stuff about, we don't hear reports
Her medical
from
state or psychological state.
But the thing is, what I will not be able to
Lynn
understand
Aoki will give a little
ever
shout out to
is
Robbie.
that you are supposed to have a conservatorship because you are incapacitated mentally, and yet they worked her to the point where she earned $150 million and she was doing 7 days a week in Vegas. So she wasn't unable to function, was she?
No.
And okay, so say she's a bit chaotic. Say she's going to
Does she
marry
not
this
have the
guy.
right to live
It's her
chaotically?
money.
Yeah.
She earned it. I mean, we don't know anything about this guy she's with, but obviously the insinuation is she can't have control of this money. They don't want her to marry. She could end up losing all her money. It's her money. She's not incapacitated. I mean, she's refusing to work because she's frightened and she doesn't want to be controlled. I mean, I just feel the whole thing just feels so shady.
Yeah, Lucy Williams says she has to be more vulnerable than we know, but this still stinks of all kinds of wrongdoing.
Exactly, and as
I
we
think
said
absolutely
last
right.
week, what I absolutely hate about this is, what does it do for, the mental health movement? If you saw the Finding Britney documentary, I mean, it seemed pretty clear what they were saying, that she had postnatal depression after she had her babies. She had them really quickly, one after another, like within 2 years. And she suffered. She had a breakdown. And I think this will affect a lot of people asking for help, a lot of women that might struggle after having their babies, because it just seems extraordinary since 2008.
It does seem strange. I mean, I do just wonder whether even within the kind of weirdness of American law, and how we're going to talk about that again in a minute, you know, how, you know, you can just get these really sort of odd sort of, you know, contradictory sort of findings about things. It does seem strange that there's such a strong argument for it to continue with such a public backlash.
But do you know what scares me about it? It's a bit like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. You know, like when you listen to her in the court giving her opinion, she was so focused, she was articulate, she was very, very precise in what she wanted them to understand. But you know, if you are being forced to have drugs, you know, drugs do affect you. Do you remember poor old oh God, what's the name, when she was on This Morning and she'd been taking that bipolar drug and she had that, oh God, who am I thinking of?
Katona?
Kerry Katona. And she hadn't been drinking, but the drugs had, and then it all spiraled out, and then she got upset. And I just worry for people that are in a vulnerable state that you can just be deemed crazy because you're desperate to make people understand that you're in a terrible state because of your situation.
Yeah, well, like Zoe Agnew says, it makes me feel so sad
me.
for the mental health movement. Emma Carter, she still has a right to choose who can look out for her. Surely if she doesn't get on with her dad, someone else should be helping her. Rosie Saunders, her sister, finally went public on Instagram as everyone was also accusing her of being on her father's side.
Yeah, I read that she was picking carefully around it because obviously she has got some, you know, there are some challenges going on for her with her mental
Helen
health.
Ellis says it doesn't seem right, but you don't know what's going on behind closed doors and what's going on in people's lives when not singing. And I think you're absolutely right. I think this is the part. I mean, I suppose I'm being maybe naive in trusting a legal system, where I'm thinking, obviously, it feels, you know, the optics on it feel like there's some kind of exploitative element here, obviously, a woman being controlled. But maybe, I mean, could it be that the courts are looking at documents and diagnoses that are saying, without all of this, she'd be dead, or she would have caused great harm to herself or her children?
The things that really stick for me is she's not so mentally incapacitated, because that is the wording for conservatorship, that she wasn't able to go out on stage every day, you know. And the thing is, like Emma says, surely she should have, if somebody is saying, I'm terrified of the person that is completely controlling my life, so what about if they say, okay, well, we'll change the conservatorship. Who would you like to look after it? Why can't she do that? And in Finding Britney documentary, her father wasn't around in her life, and he suddenly stepped forward. I mean, the insinuation was very strongly there that it was always about the money for him and Britney. You know, she worked from a small child, and you know, her mum has finally come around to supporting her.
Is there a bigger discussion here about child stars? Because you often hear this, don't you? It's a hugely challenging thing to kind of get your head around, isn't it? Being successful at a very young age.
Yeah.
I mean, so successful at such a very young age. And I mean, that documentary, again, made by the New York Times, bizarrely produced it, I think, really demonstrated how journalists, I mean, the whole feeding frenzy on her was so culpable in the whole sort of, in a sense, damaging her mental health and damaging her psychology.
Horrendous.
Erin Bullimore, I wish I could say I can't imagine what Britney must feel like, but sadly I do. Trapped and controlled by your parent is undescribable, and to be forced to perform too, she's likely feeling suicide. Well, that's a really interesting point you say, Erin, because it's the kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg. She may well have now been got to such a position in her mental health that she is a danger to herself, and that's the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest catch-22. You're taken so far into treatment, you get trapped down this, it's a bit like Get Out, the sunken place, you get taken into this place where yet then you're demonstrating all of the behavioural tics and mental sort of issues that suggest you have to be controlled, you have to be managed, you need to be looked after. And that, for me, is the true horror, if you like, at the far ends of mental health.
And ultimately the terror that anyone that struggles with their mental health has,
Absolutely.
that they then will lose their rights.
They'll lose themselves.
And like we all say, we don't know. I mean, the thing is, we've heard Britney. We haven't heard anything from the other side. We haven't heard anything from the doctors. We don't know. So I just heard a very empowered, impassioned woman who was very able to to say how she was feeling about something, and I just think,
Well-
well, because it must be, you know, it's easy for a line to be crossed, isn't it? If you're like, we're saving her from losing all her money, and yet you've got control of all her money. So how long are you going to have control of all her money?
Absolutely.
Until she dies?
Yeah.
So then, did she actually lose her money in the end because all you guys kept hold of it?
Yeah. Sorry, are we buffering? Are we buffering at the moment? Sally O'Sullivan, are we back? I saw it buffer for a moment and then I refreshed it. Are we okay? Just let us know if we're okay. Rachel Kelleher, anyone who's worked so much from such a young age and been under that much stress would struggle mentally.
Yeah.
Surely it's time to review what's best for her, especially if she said she's not happy.
Yeah, and she had, you know, postnatal depression
Thank you,
as
it's all
well.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know who said it, but it was a blue-ticked person somewhere on Twitter, and I read it, said, what kind of age do we live in where a young woman who can earn X amount of money with a successful recording career is essentially imprisoned in this situation with Britney, and then a man who has been accused by 60 women of drugging and sexually assaulting them, convicted of one, manages to walk free from prison, not because he's been found innocent, but on a technicality or a couple of technicalities. The two technicalities, as I've tried to kind of understand them, are
This is Bill Cosby.
Bill Cosby's prosecution was based on the testimony of 5 women that the law of the statute, law of statute says were outside the realms of being admissible evidence. So they appealed against that. And apparently he entered into a deal with the district attorney because apparently the woman that won the case against him was a female basketball player. And Cosby had struck a deal with the district attorney representing the Women's Basketball Association that no prosecutions could be put against him. And on that technicality, they had to throw out his prosecution.
Oh my God.
What kind of world do we live in?
I mean, it's just because we watched that documentary. Oh my God, it was just so horrific.
So, I mean, you know, it's not
What
like,
he-
it's not like you can
what he
sort of
was
sit here and
accused
say, oh, a miscarriage of justice to Bill. Because it isn't. It's not even like he's got out on I didn't do it.
Yeah.
He's got out on so for me, that's what's called a Pyrrhic victory. It's like you've lost more.
But I
surely you've lost.
suppose, playing devil's advocate, though I don't want to at all, you've got to have the law, and that law has got to be followed, hasn't it? I mean, if that is the law,
Yeah.
if there is that technicality in it, because
Yeah,
what
but
other
hang on,
technicalities?
But the technicality
I mean,
was
don't
about
get me
him.
wrong.
The technicality was about him being able to get an
furious about
agreement, a
this.
legally binding agreement that he couldn't be prosecuted. I've never understood how you can get
that?
those. I don't see how you can
I am
establish
above
those.
the law. Right from the beginning, I'm above the law.
It seems such a contradiction. Now, the
Can't
Bill Cosby story is a really complicated one in a number of different ways, I think, because I already have seen footage of what happened to be a white woman protester protesting about the release of a sex offender, and a Black Lives Matter protester saying this is a race issue and that there's prejudice happening against Bill Cosby because he's black. I think you have to say you can be of any colour and be a sexual predator and need to be prosecuted. But I would also say that there does sometimes seem to be a tendency in America to really relish when a black celebrity goes down for something more than someone else sometimes. So I think my take on this is I think the Bill Cosby story is going to become conflated with the potentially the Black Lives Matter story in America too. So I think this is going to become a complicated thing to kick about and talk about.
Faith Goodman says apparently half the Weinstein team are going to try the same thing. They've said that today. If we start rolling back and letting out these monsters that have been, it's been so important that they've put away. If we start letting them out now, one after, oh my God, it's just like...
It's like a horror movie.
I can't actually believe it.
It's like a horror movie.
It is
Amber Lou,
confusing,
I'm
really.
absolutely disgusted that he's released. Saw on the news that now Weinstein's lawyers are now, hopefully he will also get released. Awful. He's also up for prosecution in LA. It is about these testimonies from that sit outside the, there's a certain time frame, isn't there, where they're not admissible evidence. And it's just frightening. It's just frightening. But I do think, as I say, I think the Bill Cosby story is going to roll in a very different way, and I think we need to be mindful of that as it moves forward.
You know what?
How
I'm
would
just
he feel
thinking
that
of
going
his.
into
I'm
his-
just thinking
yeah.
of his victims yesterday. What
and
must
his
that
family.
feel
His family
like?
must be living a lie with him too, no? Or do you think they've just signed up to the fact that he says, I didn't do it? Even
Laura Ann Jameson. I have seen John's latest. Yeah, I'll mention it in a bit.
It's so wrong.
It's so wrong. It's so wrong.
Kate McGovern. This is why so many women stay silent. I was offered the chance to take an historic abuse claim to court, but you ask yourself, what's the point of putting yourself through trauma to no end? There you go. I mean, this is going to disincentivize people, isn't it? If they see them walking out sort of straight after. I was just thinking, when he walks into his house, does he feel a sense of justice has been done? Or does he know that he's just kind of bypassed it? Do you know what I mean? In his soul.
Yeah, but to do what he did,
No,
you've got to be a bloody
a psychopath.
psychopath to do it. So he just wouldn't care. He would just see it as his right.
It's quite a
Hello,
sort of,
Sam.
it's quite sort of focused on the sort of show business. And I hate to use the term show business on Bill Cosby, but I mean, what I can I be honest? I'm still in a state of shock that this story happened with Bill Cosby. We were all so in love with the Cosby Show.
Oh my
It was
God,
like
I loved
he
it.
was the nation's.
I couldn't believe
No.
when I was watching that documentary and hearing one woman after
No.
another who hadn't known each other. He had an absolute pattern of behaviour, what he would do. And you couldn't question it, could you? He did it time and time again over years.
Yeah, it was just such a shock. It was such a shock.
Lots of people asking me to just mention
Of
John
course.
Campbell. John Campbell, if you're new, is somebody that we've been following throughout the pandemic, and he gives really good, informative data sum up. And he's been banging on for months and months and months about the fact that the way that the WHO have said we should inject the vaccine, they have determined it is wrong, and that there are connections now to why people have got clots and the way that people are being injected in that. All since the beginning of time, when you get an injection, it's something where you aspirate. So the injection goes in and then they flick it back out to make sure that it hasn't hit a vessel. So like if it's hit a vessel, there will be a little blood come out, so you'd reposition the needle. And there's various countries now that insist that, China being one of them, that they aspirate with the injection because they think this is where the clots have come from. He gave all this information to Nadeem Zahawi, the health minister. Took him ages to get back to him. Then he went, oh no, there's no evidence to this. Well, it's because you haven't looked into it. We're giving you. So anyway, there's a new paper out, and there is much clearer evidence. Yeah. So check it out.
Is this about jabbers not being sufficiently trained?
Well, the WHO have deemed this is how to inject the vaccine without aspirating. So no, new people that aren't being trained to, and people that would have normally aspirated aren't aspirating.
Oh, I see. So it's because there's been almost an active instruction not to aspirate.
Without aspirate. And they think that's the connection to the clots because it goes into the... But anyway, check it out yourself. John Campbell on YouTube.
Isn't it remarkable when you go into the nitty-gritty of all this? So many of the things are so simple, like vitamin D, no money in it.
That's what he keeps saying. Ivermectin is a very powerful drug, but there's no money in it. Big Pharma don't like it.
You've got to sign up to the brilliance of science, but you've also got to keep it in check by saying,
You've also got to understand there's a lot of money involved.
Hang on a minute, what's going on here? Okay, well, the other story today is Princess Diana's memorial statue goes up at Kensington Palace. Obviously, the famous brothers will be together.
Hang on, lots of people saying they're nervous about having the vaccine. It's still extremely rare.
Good God.
You know, so don't, there's no reason to be more worried because of this one. If anything, you know, it's a good thing. You know, that maybe the vaccine isn't as, you know, it's still so rare. Please just watch the film. You'll feel fine. And you know, yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not scaremongery at all. He's not suggesting for a minute
that
anyone's at risk. But
Facts and figures.
What he's saying is you could have even fewer
of
these clot situations by just observing this simple thing.
Yeah.
So jumping over to Princess Diana. I just thought it was an opportunity. She'd be 60 today. 60, Princess Diana. What are your sort of memories? Do you remember her landing on the scene and everything? This must be a very difficult time for William and Harry, especially with everything that's gone on in the last year.
I totally remember her first being on the scene, her mini, You know, the famous photograph with her in the nursery holding
Yes.
the little one with the see-through dress, the skinny legs, the head down always.
I remember being
The
in a
very awkward engagement. I remember all of it.
You remember that? My first sense of her was obviously my nan adored her. She was a huge royalist. And then there was a girl called Michelle who was sat opposite me in class at primary school. And all over her desk, she had sellotaped or stuck to her desk photographs of this woman. And I was like, who the hell's this woman with pearls set? You know, she'd have pearls, wouldn't she? She'd have this perfect... I think, who the hell is this woman? And then I kind of slowly began to realise it was Princess Diana sitting opposite a royalist at school. And because my school, Holland Park, was really close, well, it was in Kensington. Kensington Palace was about 2 roads away from my school, so comprehensive, wasn't posh. We'd all, motley lot, would charge out through Holland Park, go down to High Street, Kensington. And we'd often see her when she was with Prince Charles. They'd often be walking through the church.
Really?
I remember
What
us
was she like?
getting caught in her... She was tiny and demure and everything.
She's not tiny. She's very tall.
No, she was tiny in her face and in her sense of her. She was like a
Oh
little
God,
bird.
that's not what anyone else has said to me about Princess
No,
Diana.
she was. No, she seemed really sort of. At that time, she was fey, and she was like all like this.
Oh,
and she
because
was.
people I know that have met her said she.
I mean, we only saw her from afar, but she looked like a sparrow.
Was so huge and so blue
Well, I
that
wasn't
they
kissing
felt
her,
like
yeah.
you'd just been consumed by them, just like huge sapphires.
Yeah. Well, there's a little church at the end of Kensington Church Street, and they, for some reason, we caught them in coming out of there once, and then they would be coming driving out of the, in the sort of royal cars and all this kind of stuff. So there was a huge fuss, and so you almost felt like you were part of this. It was very sort of cool. You look back now, it's almost like the swinging 60s. It's like you almost look back at it. She also manifests the 80s, don't you?
Yeah,
Don't you think?
absolutely.
She manifests that
the
sort
hairstyle.
hair
I
with
mean, I
hair.
remember
Hair with
wanting
hair.
so badly one of those jumpers with the black sheep on. Do you remember which was black sheep of the family? And they made such a thing of it. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. It's
Good
really
God, Layla B says, I had a car accident on the same day she died. Very sad. I am new, by the way. Hello. Good
Hello,
luck to you
Layla
both.
B.
Loving all the content. Please,
Oh, you're welcome.
Conversely, obviously, hearing the news, I couldn't believe that. Could not believe it. I remember I was in a...
That's a good one. Look at that. Read that
My
one.
friend saw Diana in a restaurant and William had a tantrum wanting his chips. I love that. I love that. Yeah, I mean, and of course, conversely, remembering when she landed on the scene, but when of course, the news of her death, because you mentioned that you were in a car crash on the same day, bloody hell. I was in the Ship pub on Wardour Street, and I remember the whole pub went quiet. The whole pub just went quiet.
It was so shocking.
So bizarre.
I thought it was a hoax. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. It's
you want to
really
talk?
annoying. I really thought it was a hoax. It was just the most shocking thing, wasn't it?
And my granddad went into, apparently my nan, who was, as I say, a royalist, my granddad went in and said, my God, Princess Diana's died. I mean, it was, and he wasn't one for, he wouldn't even tell her what was in the news, but where were you guys when you heard? I remember someone, Lucy Heaney, when asked why we were so upset for someone we never met, explained it's because we know more about her than we do about our neighbours and cousins. That's a very good point. We'd invested in all of her life. That's very true.
We were watching the documentary with Prince Harry and The Me You Don't See with Oprah Winfrey, and he was talking about how his grief has been really difficult to deal with. He said, because my whole life I've been dealing with everyone else's grief. So, that first day when they had to go out and they had to meet everyone and people were just sobbing and he was just frozen with this. He said this grief that other people have, he hates it in a way, doesn't he? He says, I want to scream sometimes you didn't know her.
I know. Well,
I really felt for him when he said that.
Yeah, I mean, I remember around the time you split into 2 camps, the really sort of po-faced people kind of going, well, why are you feeling anything? What is this about? It's not your trauma. It's not your...
But I do think also when somebody... such an iconic figure is lost. Some of people's grief is the grief that they have about other things that they haven't been able to grieve about.
Well, but also,
so much comes into play, doesn't it?
Well, and I think what Lucy just said there. I mean, I think we do learn a lot about. I think it's why we get attached to actors. I always get struck if an actor I really like or someone I've really invested time in their career or their work or whatever in terms of watching them. When they die, it is sad because you do know a part of them. You've kind of you've taken a part of them. They've offered them. Yeah, you've invested in them. This is
Laura
a curious one.
Whelpdale.
Laura Whelpdale. My dad looked up her skirt once. She bent over on the aircraft. I shouldn't laugh at this. And he took the opportunity.
Blimey.
Oh my lord.
Sam, I was in Paris. Are you in Paris at the time?
Oh wow.
Wow.
Silkani was on a beach in France flying kites, and a French woman told my dad, but this was before Wi-Fi, so didn't know what she was talking about. I was 3 months. Wow. Came home from babysitting and watched the whole story, Catherine Hamblin. I was on holiday with my nan, B. Steiber. Margaret O'Brien, when she died, it was sad. She was lovely, 60, and it was sad seeing 1961 come up. She was lovely. Oh. I felt so sorry for her children, Steph Schultz. Oh, I was feeding my baby. I telephoned my mum, Charlotte, mum and dad in the early hours of the morning. I was in shock. Yeah, it's crazy,
awful.
isn't it?
Just
Oh my
awful.
God.
But anyway, today, wow.
Yeah, so now, of course,
This
who
is
would have
incredibly different.
thunk? Yeah. So what do you,
How
give us a
awkward
snapshot behind
is
the
this
scenes.
going to be today for Prince William and Prince Harry? Because I think it was them that wanted this memorial, wasn't it? It's a statue of her to be unveiled in Kensington Gardens today, isn't there?
Absolutely.
And I mean, as far as we know, we don't know, because how do we know anything? They're not talking. Now, I think that's going to be incredibly tough for them today, the grief around that.
Well-
Because they will be grieving their mother, and they will also be knowing that there could be nothing worse for her than knowing that they are in this state of not speaking to each other. And
Well, the papers are saying they've called a truce. I mean, that always suggests they've acknowledged the conflict and they're negotiating it. I mean, you know, there may be just a sort of level of decency and social etiquette here that they just know that it, you know, they might not have called a truce. We don't have to have called a truce. The Feuding brothers
apparently they're
communicating by minimal text. Sorry. God, but they're determined to show the utmost respect by pledging a truce. What would have been her 60th birthday? Is Prince Charles going?
Oh, I think he must be. He must be. The husband and the... No, he would have to be there, wouldn't he?
Yeah. And of course, members of the public can go and see the statue after July the 2nd. So be prepared. I'm sure there's going to be some... I don't know whether it's a public unveiling, is it? Are there going to be some long-lensed cameras probing in there, getting photographs for us to all pour over tomorrow? Probably.
Probably.
Well, there you go, guys.
Let's do our little...
I managed to do half an hour without putting my glasses on.
There you
It's
go.
gotta
You
be
can
good.
always do it then. I don't think Charles is attending, says Karen Bennett.
That's what I thought. I thought I'd read that somewhere. I thought he wasn't. I thought it was just the boys. So we have Amanda Roach and Della. Amanda Roach today, birthday. Della tomorrow.
Okay. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Amanda. Happy birthday to you.
Why don't you mouth it and I'll sing it off camera for Della. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Della, 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 Della. Happy birthday to you.
I did that quite well.
You did do that quite
Happy
well.
birthday, Della.
Happy birthday to Devon B.
Happy birthday, Devon B. Happy birthday, Devon B. Happy birthday, Devon B. Happy birthday to you.
I was going to say me. Lynn Aoki. Do you remember Lynn Aoki's Wee Scone?
Gone.
Robin's first
Oh,
birthday.
lovely. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Happy
Happy birthday,
birthday,
dear
dear
Robin.
Robin. You wee
Yeah,
scone.
we scorn you. Happy birthday to you.
Don't let Lynn put jam and cream on you.
No.
Okay? And a little hello to Claire McNabb. Welcome.
Who's in the family guest
So
area.
what happens here is a really bad mangling of your name by Nadia.
Welcome, Claire McNabb. Welcome, Claire McNabb. Welcome, 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 Claire McNabb.
There we go. And I put my glasses on at the end.
Guys,
Sorry.
if you've enjoyed spending the last half hour with us,
That's what?
half hour with us,
Half hour.
hit the thumbs up just under where I am. Don't forget to subscribe. Just hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. Angela Fitchie, we shall sing to you too. Because it's the notification bell that will let YouTube notify you
Yeah.
when we are going live.
And
So
if you want that sort of extra content, you can join the channel for $1.99 a month. We get members' lives, you get the Sunday show. You're going to be getting me cooking badly in the kitchen again very soon. So you've got all that stuff over in the sort of members area.
And happy birthday to Angela.
Angela Ficci.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Angela.
Ficci.
Happy birthday to you.
Have a lovely day.
Yes, we can wish Marilyn a happy birthday for
Oh.
yesterday. And Marilyn, please make a speedy recovery with your shoulder, from your shoulder operation.
Oh, there you
Big
go.
kisses.
Big kisses, Marilyn.
Group
Take care,
hug.
guys. Group hug. And remember, let's remember Xander for tomorrow. Take care, guys. And I think Ashley says there's, you can find out on Ashley's Facebook and Instagram account where to listen in and join the tributes.
Lots of